Welcome to another episode of Casting Starcraft 2 with Daylac. Today bringing you a show game from Penny Arcade Expo's East from the US realm, jumping straight into this game, which looks like it's going to be a fairly exciting one, as we have over here a Platinum Zerg player called Cascade facing off against the Grandmaster Terran player DeMuslim, who is actually off racing as Protoss over here on the blue side for this game, which is his handicap here against the Orange Zerg on Newkirk Precinct. Now, whilst I am fully going into this game expecting that Cascade will probably end up losing here against the Grandmaster Terran player, it looks like it should at least be a bit of fun, and looking forward to see exactly how this game goes and how well actually DeMuslim manages handling off racing as Protoss, as of course he is known for playing as Terran, especially in tournaments, alongside other Evil Geniuses members such as EGDeMusliMRC, who we all know plays Zerg, and Stefano, another well-known Zerg player. We'll have to see if he does any kind of standard Protoss build, as Forge Fast Expand is usually the most common defense against Zerg play, and it looks like he's already got his pylon set up here for a Forge Fast Expand. Cascade already moving out his overlords to scout, and EGDeMuslim here getting that early Protoss in to have a look at his opponent's base. It's definitely going to be interesting to see just how DeMuslim handles playing as Protoss, and getting off some actually early worker harass here and forcing Cascade to pull some drones there to deal with that. But I am looking forward to this map a lot. Now, Newkirk Precinct is actually one of my favourite maps from the 1v1 ladder, as it's nicely divided down this central line here along the Zelnaga watchtowers, giving both players a nice amount of opportunity, and usually providing for some very interesting in-game play, certainly along the middle line here. And both players, it looks like, going for certainly a fast expand. The Forge now coming down for DeMuslim here, useful for those cannons for defense, along with a couple of gates in his wall in here. But overall, could be a very interesting game. In fact, actually, given that this is obviously Heart of the Swarm over Wings of Liberty, I'd like to see some Oracle harass coming out from DeMuslim against the drone lines at the hatcheries for Cascade, which could be quite cool. And this map actually can be quite conducive to some Blink Stalker play, especially with the Mothership core, as there are multiple places here where you can blink into the natural here and blink up into the main of the opponent's bases. And actually it looks like Cascade here going to poke out with some early Zerglings here, but unfortunately it looks like the cannon for DeMuslim is actually going to be finished just as those arrive, but he's actually stopped them, and this scouting probe is going to have to pull back here. But there's that early cannon finishing. A crucial part of a Protoss wall-in against Zerg is that first cannon, as it helps to provide that extra defense against those early Ling run-bys. And double gas already now coming down for DeMuslim, and we've already seen one gas here from Cascade, so either this looks like it could be some early play for Speedling, or I'm actually fully expecting to see some Roaches here, as I feel that could be a good choice, especially against those Protoss early gateway units. Roaches being able to, in numbers, do a lot against that Stalker play, and against the few Zealots that we'll likely see come out here straight away. And Cybernetics core going down now, which does suggest either Stargate technology, or certainly at least the Stalker play that I'm looking for here. In fact, seeing the first Zealot coming down now from DeMuslim. This could be a very cool game. Now, this time, yep, there's the Roach Warren coming up close to finishing now for Cascade. Fast Roach play actually could maybe win this game for him, depending on how many Roaches he can get out fast enough to face off against this Grandmaster opponent here. Something I've actually seen drop off a lot in Heart of the Swarm is the very fast 7 Roach timings from Zerg becoming less popular now in Heart of the Swarm. And we are actually seeing a large number of Roaches getting ready to come out, and Mothership core and one Stalker finishing up straight away there. So perhaps using that blink play possibilities from the Mothership core, being able to provide high ground faster than you can get certainly an Observer out. But it will be very interesting to see just how DeMuslim handles this. 2 extra gates going down now there, so perhaps a 3-gate push timing here from DeMuslim against Cascade. Currently lagging behind the Zerg player here in supply slightly, as Cascade is droning quite heavily here, trying to get that early economic lead that the Zerg are more than capable of doing against Protoss. And already we're seeing some good creep spread here, trying to take as much of the map as possible quickly to give him early warning and vision of when DeMuslim actually pushes out to get those first attacks off. And we're already seeing quite a few roaches there, so this could look like a critical roach timing attack against this front door here, as there are only currently 2 cannons here to defend, but DeMuslim already going for those ground weapons 1, but with only 1 stalker and 1 zealot here. It's a case of whether or not you'd be able to hold even with those 2 cannons against this number of roaches that are already here for Cascade. Though looks like Cascade is actually going here on fast Hydralisk technology. 2 Hydralisks on the way and grooved spines already being researched. It looks like Cascade here wanting to go Roach Hydra play, which I actually quite approve of here. Roaches and Hydras now working very well together, especially with the extra boost that the Hydralisks have gotten recently towards their movement speed. Obviously in Wings of Liberty, Hydralisks moving a lot slower than they do now in Heart of the Swarm. And the thirds coming down for both players. Cascade's finishing up very soon. DeMuslim just starting his now, with looks like a decent amount of sentries here for that force field play and getting that early Immortal out. It looks like DeMuslim here fully expecting to see some roaches coming out from his opponent, as Immortals are able to very quickly flatten those roaches. However, Hydralisks are actually in numbers tear apart those Immortals. So the Hydralisk play here from Cascade could prove to be very effective, especially if DeMuslim keeps investing in Immortals. And this looks like a big attack here coming out for Cascade. A first push perhaps against his Protoss opponent, getting ready here to move out across the map. In fact, this could actually cause some damage to DeMuslim's economy if he falls on and crushes that 3rd base that's already being set up, prevent some of that economy there from getting into force. Zergling speed also on the way. These Hydralisks already having grooved spines to give them that extra all-important range here. And it looks like, yes, he is going to try and fall onto this 3rd base here, but that time warp coming down off the mothership core is going to nail some of their damage down distinctly, and he's not turning them around to fight against his opponents. He's actually focusing on the Nexus, and that has cost him that army. That is potentially a huge mistake, but it looks like these Zerglings may be able to do a lot of damage here, but those force field surrounds on that Nexus are going to be more than enough to save it, even though it's only down to 69 HP here. That is some absolutely fantastic force field micro, very well performed there by DeMuslim. And it looks like he's now going to counter that with perhaps a little bit of a push out of his own. He's got a decent number of stalkers and sentries there, and it looks like Cascade has almost no defense here at his own 3rd base, though he is once again building up a nice force here of Hydralisks, currently sitting here with 17 Hydralisks and more roaches now on the way. And given the fact that he is actually going Hydralisks, I like this. It looks like DeMuslim is wanting to go for the Colossus technology, already looking at getting those extended thermal lances on the way here. And it looks like he's going to try and take this 3rd base away from the Zerg player, force fielding away that army so that he can pull his own back in good timing here. Colossus actually going to be a very strong choice here against the Hydralisk army of Cascade, as Colossus obviously deal bonus damage to light units, and that splash can prove lethal, especially with the extended thermal lances in the firing on that backline there, and not many roaches in this composition at the moment. So overall the strength of this army is on the attack very strong, but on the defensive quite weak here, especially if those Colossus can come out in time, as DeMuslim now has 2 Colossi on the way. But he currently has a nice standing force of a large amount of stalkers here, and his mothership core has plenty of energy for a time warp and for the photon overcharge on the Nexus. But it does look like that Nexus is going to fall there for DeMuslim. Cascade managing to snipe that from its low HP and pulling back his force of Zerg there to retreat towards his own side. Now seeing more roaches on the way, and weapon upgrades here for Zerg missile attacks. Very important for these, as both roaches and hydralisks utilize the missile attack upgrades. Not so sure that we'll see the ground attack upgrades coming out for the Zerglings, as they're not going to be as important, especially with that roach hydra mix up here. But the infestation pit finishing up now, so perhaps we'll see the quick move here onto hive tech for Cascade, and perhaps into Broodlords and even perhaps Vipers, which would be very strong against those Colossus. I mean, pulling them directly into range of the Roaches and Hydralisks could be very strong. But looks like DeMuslim here pushing out with this big force here. He's got 2 Colossi and a large amount of Stalkers, all of which now have Blink. So we could perhaps see him blink up into the main of his opponent. Cascade here perhaps going to be potentially losing 2 bases in one go here. He's certainly going to at least lose that third. The Time Warp has gone out there to cut off the Zerg reinforcements, and those Colossus doing a lot of damage there, but almost losing one. Now turning around, it looks like we could actually see a bit of base trade here. Cascade perhaps going to move around and attack his opponent's main, but DeMuslim here, this is a huge force, and he is tearing apart Cascade's drones. They are going to unfortunately not be caught in time by Cascade and get vaporized pretty much by that number of Colossi that DeMuslim has here. Cascade actually potentially going to be pincered here, force of Stalkers on one side, but he looks like he may be hit by another force of Stalkers and those Colossi from the rear. And in fact, Cascade not actually got anything under production here. If he loses this army, this could actually put him at a very serious setback. He is going to try and snipe that third again, and I don't know whether or not that's a wise choice. He should turn here, maybe engage this army, but he is going to try and make the run for it. But the Time Warp goes down. That's going to let these Stalkers more than catch up, and those force fields going down there, stopping a huge chunk of Cascade's army from retreating. DeMuslim here absolutely stomping all over his Platinum opponent. I actually feel kind of sorry here for Cascade being faced off here against a Grandmaster level opponent, and I mean the supply now standing at 196 for DeMuslim versus Cascade's 108. DeMuslim probably just going to be able to roll all over his opponent here in this final stages, as that is a quite huge and scary army here. Actually finding a hidden 4th base here for Cascade. Very sneaky attempt for Cascade to actually try and expand in a stealthy fashion, but those force fields there again cutting off that Zerg army, stopping them from being able to get close enough to deal the damage, and then the Stalkers blinking forwards. Such an absolutely beautiful choice here, and it looks like Cascade is going to be crushed now by this critical mass of Stalkers and Colossi. Though he does have a few Mutalisks out on the field, they're not really going to be able to do much to save him, especially against this composition. And there goes the GG, and that is game. Well played to Cascade for surviving for 18 minutes against his Grandmaster level opponent here. EGDeMuslim actually off-racing as Protoss as a little bit of a handicap, but still displaying a brilliant amount of macro control, even playing as Protoss, and simply being able to stomp all over his opponent and doubling the supply of his opponent in absolute ease. Overall, a very cool game, and I hope you enjoyed that very brief cast, and have a very good day.